The morning sky above NASA's main control center was clear and blue when the first signals arrived. John Miller, the head of Deep Space Monitoring, almost spilled his coffee when the readings appeared on his screen. The signals were unlike anything he had seen before. Strong, clear, and definitely not natural. "Sir, you need to see this," he called out to his supervisor. Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was tracking the same signals. They were coming from a massive fleet of ships, moving through the solar system at incredible speeds. The world governments tried to keep it quiet, but amateur astronomers soon spotted the vessels approaching. They looked like dark shadows crossing Jupiter's face, visible even through small telescopes. Panic started spreading as videos appeared online. Then came the message. It broadcast on every frequency, in perfect English. "People of Earth, this is Ambassador High Commander of the Galactic Empire. Your planet has been chosen to join our great civilization. Resistance is unnecessary. We bring order to chaos, unity to division. You have 48 hours to accept our generous offer of membership. Otherwise, we will be forced to demonstrate our power." The United Nations called an emergency meeting. For the first time in human history, every country agreed on something. Earth would not bow to threats. Within 24 hours, they formed the United Earth Council, putting aside old fights to face this new challenge. Admiral James Walker sat in the newly established Earth Defense Force headquarters, looking at the satellite images of the Imperial fleet. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes, chosen to lead Earth's military forces because of his brilliant strategic mind. "They expect us to surrender," he said to the room full of military leaders from around the world. "They think we're primitive because we don't have their fancy space drives. But they don't know humans very well, do they?" The room erupted in determined agreement. Humans had been preparing for this day ever since they first looked at the stars. Every country had secret weapons, hidden bunkers, and emergency plans. Now, they would work together. The Council sent their reply to the Empire. "Earth acknowledges your message. We invite your representatives to land and discuss terms." The Empire, thinking they had won easily, sent down their first assessment team. They didn't know that humans had already activated their planetary defense systems. Hidden bases in mountains and under oceans came to life. Satellites quietly changed positions. Old Cold War bunkers reopened. The Imperial ship landed outside New York. Their representative, wearing what looked like golden armor, stepped out with 4 guards. He carried himself like someone who expected no resistance. "I am lead inspector," he announced. "We will begin evaluating your civilization's level now. Please provide access to your leaders and technology." Admiral Walker met them, wearing his simple blue uniform. He smiled politely, hiding his thoughts behind a calm face. "Welcome to Earth. We're a simple people, but we'd be happy to show you around." The inspector looked at the city behind them, at the cars and buildings that must have seemed primitive to him. "Your technology level is concerning," he said, "but the Empire will help you advance, under proper guidance, of course." What the inspector didn't know was that humans had already discovered most of the Empire's advanced technology years ago. They had simply chosen different paths, developing technologies that the Empire had never considered. Earth's weapons were hidden but ready. Its people were prepared, but quiet. As the first day of their evaluation ended, Admiral Walker received a secret message. The Empire's ships had tried to hack Earth's satellites, but found them surprisingly difficult to crack. Their scans for military bases were being blocked by technology they didn't understand. Their attempts to map Earth's defenses had failed. The inspector wrote his first report to the Empire. "Primitive but peaceful species. No significant resistance expected. Recommend immediate integration into Empire's lower tiers." In his own office, Admiral Walker wrote a different kind of report. "They underestimate us. Like every empire in human history, they'd mistake quiet for weakness. They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons or technology. It's in our determination to remain free." The pieces were set. Earth would show the Empire why it was a terrible mistake to threaten humanity. The real question wasn't whether Earth would fight, but whether the Empire was ready for what would happen when humans fought back. The Imperial assessment team spent their first week on Earth watching and judging. They chose to call their leader Robert Smith, a name they picked from Earth's databases, thinking it would help them seem friendlier. Instead, it felt like they were mocking humanity. Smith walked through a regular military base in Texas, his golden armor shining in the hot sun. His scanning devices kept giving him strange readings. According to Imperial technology, this base should be primitive, with simple weapons and basic defenses. But something wasn't adding up. "Show me your best aircraft," Smith demanded, expecting to see outdated machines. The base commander, Jack Wilson, led them to a hangar. Inside sat what looked like a normal fighter jet. Smith laughed. "This uses fossil fuel propulsion. How primitive." Wilson just smiled. "Would you like to see it fly?" The demonstration that followed shocked the Imperial team. The primitive jet performed maneuvers their own ships couldn't match. It flew in ways that seemed to ignore physics. When Smith demanded to scan the engine, his devices showed nothing unusual, just regular Earth technology. "Impossible," Smith muttered. "Your technology level doesn't allow for this." Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Admiral Walker met with the Earth Council. "They're confused," he reported. "Every time they scan our technology, they see what they expect to see, primitive machines. But when they watch those machines work," he smiled, "let's just say they're having trouble writing their reports." The council had a good laugh at that. Humans had learned long ago that sometimes the best place to hide something was in plain sight. Their most advanced technology didn't look advanced at all. Smith's team visited a naval base next. They watched Earth's ships perform exercises in the Pacific Ocean. Again, their scans showed nothing special, just metal ships floating on water. But these simple vessels carried secrets that made the Imperial officers nervous. "Why do you still use ocean-going ships?" Smith asked the naval commander. "The Empire abandoned water vessels thousands of years ago." "The ocean is part of our home," the commander replied. "We learned to master it long before we looked to the stars." That night, Smith sent an urgent message to the Imperial fleet. "Earth's military capabilities unclear. Request permission for deeper investigation." The Empire granted permission, not knowing they were falling into Earth's trap. The more they looked, the more confused they became. Each primitive piece of Earth technology seemed to hide impossible capabilities. During the third week, Smith's team visited a space launch facility. They watched Earth launch a satellite using what looked like basic rocket technology. But when they tried to track the satellite, it vanished completely from their sensors. "Your tracking systems must be malfunctioning," the facility director said helpfully. "Would you like to borrow one of ours?" The Imperial team was too proud to admit they needed help from primitives. Instead, they spent days trying to find the satellite, never succeeding. Admiral Walker received another secret report. The Empire's best detection systems couldn't find half of Earth's satellites now. Humanity's stealth technology, developed over decades of hiding things from each other, worked even better against alien sensors. In their fifth week on Earth, Smith's team finally discovered something that truly shocked them. Hidden in Earth's scientific databases, they found research into faster-than-light travel from 50 years ago. "You discovered FTL principles," Smith demanded in a meeting with Earth's scientists. "Why didn't you develop it?" Dr. Helen Ward, head of Earth's Physics Council, answered calmly. "We found it dangerous and unstable. Instead, we developed other ways to work with space and time." This news rocked the Imperial team. According to their records, no species had ever discovered FTL travel and chosen not to use it. This didn't fit with their view of primitive civilizations at all. Smith's final report to the Empire was very different from his first one. Earth requires careful handling. While their visible technology appears primitive, there are concerning inconsistencies. They show signs of development paths the Empire has never encountered. Recommend caution. But the Empire's leaders didn't want to hear about caution. They had conquered thousands of worlds, and Earth looked like an easy target. They ignored Smith's warnings and prepared their next move. Admiral Walker read the intercepted Imperial communications and smiled. "They still don't understand," he told the Council. "They think they're hunting us. They haven't realized yet. We've been hunting them." Earth's trap was nearly ready. Soon, the Empire would learn why it was a mistake to judge a civilization by its appearance alone. The United Earth Council gathered in their underground chamber beneath the Swiss Alps. The room looked simple, just a round table with screens, but it was one of the most secure places on Earth. Today, they would show the Empire why threatening Earth was a terrible mistake. Council member Thomas Gray stood up. He was an older man with white hair and a serious face. "It's time to show our guests some of our real defenses," he said, just enough to make them think twice. The Imperial delegation arrived, expecting another boring meeting. Smith and his team sat down, their golden armor scraping against their chairs. They still thought they were dealing with a primitive planet that would be easy to conquer. Admiral Walker touched a button on the table. The room's lights dimmed, and a 3D map of the solar system appeared above them. Thousands of small dots lit up all around Earth, stretching out past Mars. "What are we looking at?" Smith asked, trying to hide his surprise. "Our defense network," Walker said simply. "We've had 100 years to prepare. Those dots are just the ones we're letting you see." The Imperial team stared at the map. Their scans had missed most of these installations: hidden bases on the Moon, defense platforms around Mars, automated factories in the asteroid belt, all invisible to their best detection systems. Smith's face turned pale. "This is impossible. Your technology level is exactly what we wanted you to think it was," Gray interrupted. "We've been watching the Empire for years. We saw what you did to other worlds, how you trapped them with your generous offers." The Council played videos on the screens around the room. They showed Imperial ships attacking other planets, worlds that had refused to join the Empire, burned. But they also showed something else: worlds where people were treated like slaves after joining. "Where did you get these recordings?" Smith demanded. "We have friends out there," Walker said. "Not everyone in the Empire agrees with its methods. They've been helping us prepare." Smith stood up angrily. "This is rebellion. The Empire will." "The Empire will what?" Gray asked calmly. "Try to conquer us. Go ahead. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, and our own nuclear wars. We've spent centuries fighting ourselves, getting better at war with each generation. You think you can do worse than what we've already survived?" The room's walls suddenly became transparent, revealing they were inside a mountain. Through the clear walls, the Imperial team saw hundreds of ships and weapons they had never detected, all hidden inside the mountain itself. "This is just one base," Walker explained. "We have thousands like it. Some underwater, some underground, some in places you haven't even thought to look." Smith tried to send an emergency message to his fleet, but nothing happened. Their communications were being blocked by technology they couldn't understand. "Don't worry," Gray said. "We're not jamming your signals. We're just redirecting them. Your fleet will get a different message, one about how cooperative and primitive we are." The Imperial team realized they were trapped, not by weapons or shields, but by their own assumptions about Earth. "The Empire has millions of ships," Smith warned. "You cannot win." Walker smiled. "We don't need to win. We just need to make victory cost too much. How many ships can you lose before other worlds realize the Empire isn't invincible?" "This is your only warning," Gray added. "Leave Earth alone. Find easier targets, because if you attack us—" He paused, looking each Imperial officer in the eye. "We won't just defend ourselves. We'll take the fight to you." The Imperial team left the meeting shaken. Their report to the Empire was urgent and clear. Earth was far more dangerous than they had imagined. But the Empire's pride was too great. They had never failed to conquer a world they targeted. They wouldn't back down now. That night, Admiral Walker stood on top of the mountain base, looking at the stars. "They'll attack soon," he said to Gray, who stood beside him. "Their pride won't let them do anything else." Gray nodded. "Then they'll learn what happens when you corner a species that turned fighting into an art form. Humanity has been preparing for this moment since we first dreamed of the stars." High above Earth, hidden weapons turned silently, tracking Imperial ships. In secret bases across the solar system, humans waited patiently. The Empire thought they were bringing war to Earth. They didn't realize Earth was bringing war to them. The Imperial fleet appeared near the moon without warning. 500 massive warships jumped into space, their metal hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They expected to find Earth helpless and afraid. Instead, they found silence. "No panic broadcasts," the Imperial commander said, watching Earth through his view screen. "No emergency signals. Nothing." On Earth, Admiral Walker sat in the main defense center deep under the Rocky Mountains. Screens showed the Imperial fleet's position. Officers worked quietly at their stations, no one showing any fear. "They took the bait," Walker said, looking at the fleet's position. "They're exactly where we want them." The Empire had placed their ships in a standard attack formation, ready to launch fighters toward Earth. They had used this same tactic to conquer 1,000 worlds. But Earth was different. Earth had been watching, learning, and preparing. "Launch the first wave," Walker ordered. In orbit around the moon, hidden quantum sensors detected the Imperial ship's shield frequencies. This was technology Earth had developed in secret, something the Empire had never seen before. Each Imperial ship was being scanned, its weaknesses mapped. The Imperial commander smiled when his sensors detected movement from Earth. "They're launching primitive missiles," he told his crew. "Prepare to show them what real weapons look like." But these weren't missiles. From secret bases on the moon's dark side, Earth's first real weapons appeared. They looked like small satellites, barely worth noticing. The Empire's sensors classified them as debris. That was their first mistake. Walker pressed a button on his command chair. "All units, Operation Firefly is go." The small satellites suddenly split apart, each one becoming hundreds of tiny drones. They moved in perfect coordination, guided by quantum computers that could think faster than any Imperial system. "What's happening?" the Imperial commander demanded as his sensors went crazy. The drones were everywhere, moving in impossible patterns. The drones didn't attack. They didn't need to. Each one carried special transmitters that Earth had developed. When activated together, they created a quantum field that did something the Empire thought impossible. They linked the empty space between their ships. "Shields at maximum," the Imperial commander ordered. But it was too late. The quantum field activated. In an instant, every Imperial ship found itself connected to every other ship through twisted space. When one ship tried to fire its weapons, the energy bounced through the field, hitting their own fleet from 1,000 different directions. "Stop firing," the commander screamed. But in the chaos, not every ship got the message in time. The Imperial fleet's own weapons turned their formation into a death trap. Walker watched calmly as the Empire's perfect formation fell apart. "Launch the second wave." From Earth, real weapons finally launched. But these weren't the primitive missiles the Empire expected. Each one carried a new type of drive that bent space around it, making them nearly impossible to track or stop. The Imperial fleet tried to retreat, but the quantum field trapped them in place. Their mighty ships, which had destroyed so many civilizations, were being taken apart by weapons they couldn't even understand. "This is impossible," the Imperial commander said, watching his fleet burn. "They're supposed to be primitive." In just 2 hours, the Empire lost 100 ships. They had never lost so many in their entire history. The survivors finally managed to break free of the quantum field and retreated, jumping away to safety. On Earth, celebrations began. But Walker wasn't smiling. "They'll be back," he told his officers. "And next time, they'll be ready for these tricks." "But we'll have new ones ready," said his second-in-command. "They still haven't seen our real defenses." Walker nodded. The Empire had just learned their first lesson about Earth. Appearances could be deceiving. But they hadn't learned the most important lesson yet. Humans were at their most dangerous when cornered. In the debris field around the moon, Earth's cleanup crews got to work. They weren't just removing wreckage. They were collecting Imperial technology to study and improve upon. "Send word to all commands," Walker ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2 preparations." The Empire had ruled the galaxy through fear for 1,000 years. But they had never faced an enemy like humanity before. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was humanity's chance to show the galaxy that bullies, no matter how big, could be beaten. The real war was just beginning. News of Earth's victory spread through the Empire like wildfire. The Imperial government tried to hide their defeat, but they couldn't stop the truth. For the first time in centuries, someone had beaten the unbeatable Empire. In her underground laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Anna Moore worked with alien technology taken from the destroyed Imperial ships. Her team had made an amazing discovery. "Their shields have a fatal flaw," she explained to Admiral Walker through a secure video call. "They never thought anyone would attack them the way we did. Their entire defense system is built on outdated ideas." Walker smiled. "Can we use this?" "Better," Anna replied. "We can share it with others." Across the galaxy, conquered worlds watched and waited. Earth's victory had given them something they'd lost long ago: hope. Secret messages began arriving at Earth's hidden communication stations. Messages from resistance groups on 100 different worlds. The Empire's problems were just beginning. On a mining world far from Earth, alien workers suddenly found their Imperial overseer's weapons stopped working. Earth's quantum field technology had been secretly installed by resistance fighters. The miners overthrew their guards and took control of their planet. The Empire sent ships to take back the mining world. But when they arrived, they found Earth's new shield-breaking technology waiting for them. Another Imperial fleet retreated in defeat. In the Earth Defense Council room, Thomas Gray showed the latest reports. 7 worlds have declared independence this week, he said. The Empire is losing control. Walker pointed to a star map showing Empire territory. "They're spreading their forces thin, trying to maintain control, just as we planned." Dr. Moore's team kept working, developing new ways to fight. They called their latest invention the Ghost Fleet, ships that could appear and disappear by bending light and space around them. When Earth shared this technology with their new allies, Imperial supply lines began falling apart. The Empire couldn't understand how they were losing. Their spies reported Earth was helping other worlds, but they couldn't find any evidence of Earth ships leaving the solar system. They didn't know that humans had found ways to share technology without ever leaving home. The Empire made a basic mistake, Dr. Moore explained to a group of alien resistance leaders through quantum-linked communications. They thought beating us meant destroying our weapons. But humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to share knowledge and adapt. More worlds joined the revolution each day. The Empire's proud governors found themselves facing populations armed with Earth-inspired technology. Weapons that looked simple but held surprising power. Communication systems the Empire couldn't block. Defense shields they couldn't break. Even some Imperial citizens began questioning their government. They had been told they were bringing civilization to primitive worlds. Now those primitive worlds were teaching them new ways of thinking. Walker received a message from an Imperial colony requesting Earth's help. "Their own people are turning against them," he told the Council. "The Empire is rotting from within." Dr. Moore's team made another breakthrough. They found a way to detect Imperial spies by tracking quantum patterns in their communication devices. Suddenly, the Empire's intelligence network fell apart. They couldn't trust their own information anymore. "Earth isn't just fighting us," an Imperial general reported to his superiors. "They're changing the way war is fought. We're facing an enemy that turns our own strength against us. The Empire tried to adapt, but centuries of doing things the same way had made them slow to change. Every time they developed a counter to Earth's technology, humans and their allies had already moved on to something new. In the council room, Walker and Gray watched reports coming in from across the galaxy. The Empire still has more ships, more soldiers, and more resources, Gray said. True, Walker replied. But we have something better. We have hope, and we've given that hope to others. A message arrived from another imperial world declaring independence, then another, and another. The Empire had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Now they were learning a hard lesson. Fear could control people, but it couldn't inspire them. Earth hadn't just shown the galaxy how to fight. They had shown them how to believe in themselves again. The revolution was spreading, and not even the mighty Empire could stop it now. The Imperial High Command gathered their largest fleet ever, 10,000 warships. Their message to Earth was simple: surrender or be destroyed. They expected fear. Instead, they received silence. Deep underground, billions of humans went about their lives in vast city bunkers. Over the past year, Earth had moved most of its population below ground. The surface looked empty, abandoned. But this was part of the plan. Admiral Walker stood in the main command center, watching the Imperial fleet approach. "Are the civilians secure?" he asked. "All underground cities report ready," his officer replied. "Operation Empty Earth is complete." The Empire's massive fleet filled Earth's skies. Their ships blocked out the sun in many places, creating an artificial night. It was meant to terrify, but the Empire didn't realize they were looking at an empty shell, a planet prepared for exactly this moment. Captain Michael Reed led Earth's space guerrilla forces. His ships were small, fast, and nearly impossible to detect. They hid among the asteroids and debris, watching the Imperial fleet. "They brought their entire fleet," Reed reported to Walker. "Just like we wanted." Walker nodded. "Spring the trap." The Empire started their attack with a massive bombardment. Their weapons hit cities, military bases, and industrial areas. But they were shooting at empty buildings. The real Earth was safe underground. Then Earth's defense system activated. First, quantum mines hidden in orbit began exploding. Each explosion created a small area where Imperial ships couldn't use their faster-than-light drives. The mighty fleet found itself trapped in normal space, divided into smaller groups. "Now," Walker ordered. Reed's guerrilla fleet struck first. His ships appeared from nowhere, using Dr. Moore's Ghost Fleet technology. They didn't try to fight the Imperial ships directly. Instead, they targeted fuel lines, weapons systems, and communication arrays, just as human guerrilla fighters had done for centuries on Earth. The Empire tried to coordinate their defense, but Earth had another surprise ready. Dr. Moore's team had developed a system that could copy and broadcast fake Imperial command codes. Soon, Imperial ships were receiving hundreds of conflicting orders. "They're in chaos," Reed reported, watching Imperial ships fire at each other by mistake. Moving to Phase 2. Earth's main defense platforms revealed themselves. These weren't the simple weapons the Empire had seen before. These were humanity's real weapons, developed over decades of preparing for this moment. The platforms fired strange devices that looked like small boxes. When they hit Imperial ships, they didn't explode. Instead, they attached themselves and started broadcasting quantum signals that confused the Imperial ship systems. "Their shields are failing," reported Reed. "They can't tell our ships from their own anymore." The Empire had expected to find a weakened Earth, exhausted from helping other worlds rebel. Instead, they found a fortress world with layer after layer of defenses. Every time they thought they had figured out Earth's tactics, something new appeared. Walker watched from his command center as the mighty Imperial fleet fell into chaos. "Launch the cleanup cruise," he ordered. Special ships designed to capture damaged Imperial vessels moved in. Earth would learn from every piece of technology they could salvage. It was something humans had always been good at, learning from their enemies. The Imperial commander couldn't believe what he was seeing. His mighty fleet, which had conquered thousands of worlds, was being taken apart by an enemy they couldn't even find most of the time. Full retreat, he ordered, but many of his ships couldn't escape. The quantum mines had trapped them in normal space, and Earth's guerrilla forces were picking them apart one by one. As the battle ended, Walker received reports from across the solar system. Earth had destroyed or captured nearly half the Imperial fleet. The rest had retreated in disorder. "Send word to our allies," Walker ordered. "The Empire's main fleet is crippled. Begin the final phase." The cost had been high. Many of Reed's brave pilots had died. Parts of Earth's surface were damaged from Imperial weapons. But the underground cities were safe, and humanity had proven something important. Even the mightiest enemy could be beaten with proper planning and determination. The Empire had just learned the hardest lesson of all. Never corner an enemy who has nothing left to lose. Humanity had spent centuries fighting itself, perfecting the art of war. Now the Empire was learning why so many had failed to conquer Earth before them. The final battle was coming. But this time, Earth would take the fight to the Empire's home. 3 months after Earth's great victory, Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the Hope of Terra. Around him, a combined fleet of Earth ships and rebel vessels from 30 different worlds prepared for the final battle. "The Empire's capital world is ahead," Captain Reed reported. His guerrilla fleet had scouted the way, using Earth's Ghost Fleet technology to remain unseen. They'd gathered their remaining ships for one last stand. Dr. Moore's voice came through the quantum communicator. She was still on Earth, coordinating the technical aspects of the battle. "Remember, their planetary shields used the same flawed technology as their ships. They never fixed their weaknesses because they never thought anyone would reach their homeworld. The Empire had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Now, for the first time, they were the ones who were afraid." Walker looked at the tactical display. The Empire had 5,000 ships defending their capital. Earth and its allies had fewer ships, but they had something more important. They had a plan. "All ships, begin Operation Dawn," Walker ordered. The attack began unlike any battle in Imperial history. Instead of charging in with guns blazing, Earth's fleet released millions of tiny drones. The Empire's defenders laughed at first, until the drones created a massive quantum field around their entire defense fleet. "They're trapped in normal space," Reed reported. "Moving to Phase 2. The Rebel fleet appeared next, ships from dozens of worlds the Empire had once conquered. They weren't fighting for Earth, they were fighting for their own freedom. That made them more dangerous than any Imperial soldier. The Empire's defenders found themselves fighting enemies they couldn't predict. Each world had learned from Earth, but each had added their own ideas. The Empire faced not one enemy, but 30 different ways of fighting. "Their formation is breaking," Reed called out. "Time for the killing blow." Walker gave the order. From behind the Empire's fleet, Earth's ghost ships appeared. The Empire had never figured out how to detect them. Now it was too late. The battle for the Imperial capital lasted just 6 hours. When it ended, the mighty Empire had lost its last fleet. Their capital world's shields fell soon after, defeated by technology they had dismissed as primitive just 1 year ago. But Earth didn't destroy the Imperial capital. Instead, Walker sent a message to all Imperial worlds. "We don't want your empire. We don't want your worlds. We just want every species to be free to choose their own path." In the Imperial Palace, the Earth delegation met with representatives from every world in the galaxy. Walker spoke first. "The Empire's time is over," he said, "but we're not here to create a new one. Earth proposes something different. A galactic council where every world has an equal voice." Dr. Moore presented their plan. "We'll share our technology with everyone, not as weapons, but as tools to help all species grow. No more primitive worlds. No more forced membership. Every world free to develop in its own way." The imperial leaders were arrested by their own people. Centuries of rule through fear ended not with a bang, but with a whisper. The empire became the commonwealth of free worlds, where every planet could choose its own future. 1 month later, Walker stood in the United Earth Council chamber. The room was packed with representatives from Earth and 100 other worlds. "We won more than a war," he told them. "We proved that determination matters more than pure strength, that innovation beats domination, that freedom is worth fighting for." Thomas Gray, now Earth's representative to the new Galactic Council, stood up. "But our greatest victory wasn't military," he said. "It was showing the galaxy a better way. Earth didn't just beat the Empire. We made it obsolete." Dr. Moore's team had already begun sharing Earth's technology with other worlds. But more importantly, they were sharing ideas. The concept that different didn't mean primitive. That diversity made the galaxy stronger, not weaker. The Empire had tried to make every world the same. Earth had shown that every world could be unique and still work together. "The real work begins now," Walker told the Council. "Building peace is harder than winning war, but humans have always loved a challenge." As the sun set on the first day of the new era, ships from 100 worlds flew peacefully through Earth's solar system. Each was different, each was welcome, and each was free. The Empire had wanted to force the galaxy into its image. Earth had shown them a better way. A galaxy where every world could follow its own stars. It was a new dawn for every species in the galaxy. And it all started because one primitive world dared to say no to an empire.